Hello everybody, we are going live here, checking the audio, making sure it sounds good. Hello everybody. Sounds good to me. Okay, so we have a bit of severe weather going on right now and we're going to talk about it. First and foremost, let's just get ourselves familiarized with the setup that's going on right now in Mississippi. Obviously, just a few days ago, we had a major tornado outbreak in Mississippi. I was actually down there chasing for that. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But once again here, just 2 days later, we have another significant severe weather event. This one is more in tune with, at least right now, it's more severe wind and hail. And there's been a couple tornadoes reported so far today, one earlier this morning, and then one recently in Louisiana here. But we have a little bit of, let's see here. I'll just do this one. Sorry. This is totally thrown together last minute, so apologies for being a little bit scattered here. I just kind of figured out that this was going on and was like, oh, I should probably talk to you guys about this. Plus, we can talk about the Mississippi tornado too. So anyways, right now we're looking at the Storm Prediction Center. This is a moderate risk stretched out across Louisiana, Mississippi into Alabama. This is a weird setup. There's a stalled frontal boundary and some really weak flow, westerly flow aloft. That's allowing for a bunch of storms to develop along and just south of this front. And there's a ton of instability. We've got dew points in the 70s. The sun has been out for a good chunk of the day, which was able to heat that atmosphere up and make it very conducive for severe weather. And then with this kind of subtle short wave that's moving in from the west, it's just a prime for multiple rounds of severe storms. So we have this moderate risk. It is for tornadoes and hail, and the hail is highlighted more here in the western portions of the outlook. That'll be what's ongoing right now during the daytime, and then there will still be risk for hail as you get into those evening and overnight hours. But right now, what we're looking at is a pretty serious storm that just went through Jackson, Mississippi. We're going to take it back here. This was, let's see, this was about an hour ago, the radar screenshot that we're looking at. So an hour ago, here's Jackson, Mississippi, pretty big area, or pretty big city rather, like 150,000 people. We have this massive supercell off to the west with these deep colors indicating a pretty prominent hail core. These are also correlated with that hail core. Those are velocities, and that's some really intense downdraft winds, probably in the range of like 70 to 80 miles per hour with these deep reds here. And so we have probably baseball size hail, at least tennis ball size hail here west of Clinton. Actually, we can look at the reports to be exact here. The hail report in Clinton was, okay, so it was 1.75, so it was golf ball here. Back further a little bit west, there was tennis ball size hail reported in Bolton. And I think the roof blew off the fire station I read a report of. So we've got golf ball size hail here coming into Clinton along with 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. There are numerous reports in Clinton of wind damage. We can read a few here. We've got one. We have tree reported down on a structure that's just basically in downtown Clinton. A little bit north of Clinton, we have ham operators reported tree down on the intersection of Kickapoo and Pine Haven. We have a thunderstorm report east of downtown Clinton. EMS reported power lines down on the railroad tracks at Parker Drive and Clinton Boulevard intersection in Clinton. So quite a bit of wind damage going on with this, plus wind-driven hail as it goes into Clinton. Now, if we zoom in here and remove the radar, we can actually see, and let me know if I'm audio-wise, if I'm too loud, if I'm too quiet. I can adjust it right here. Just let me know. Like I said, I threw this together pretty last minute, so just trying to get this all situated. But if we look here in Clinton, we can see a lot of residential areas here. These are the areas where these reports came in from. So we've got numerous neighborhoods all throughout here that were all impacted by this hail. So this west kind of suburb of Jackson was very hard hit. Then we progress the radar forward a little bit. Like I said, that was about an hour ago. Sorry, let's go back to this. We will go back to this. And the storm actually starts weakening a little bit as it gets into downtown Jackson. But what's happening over here is we have a new updraft that was going up. You can see right here, there's this separate updraft, a separate storm essentially that's going up here, pretty much over south downtown Jackson as this storm is coming into Clinton. And this storm rapidly grows and becomes a giant hail producer on the eastern and northeastern sides of Jackson. Now, the reason it looks so weird right here, it doesn't look as, the purples and pinks don't show out as much, it's because it's really close to the radar here. But we can actually go up. This is looking at 0.03 tilt. If we go up in tilt, let's go to 5. You can see those darker colors. So that's basically just telling the radar beam to go further up and look further up in the storm as opposed to looking down here. And you can see those darker colors. Still a little weird because we're so close in range to where the radar's from, but you can see those pinks and even whites here northeast of Jackson. And you go, okay, well, Jackson's down here, what's up here? Well, once again, we can remove that top layer, and we can see we actually do have a bunch of neighborhoods up here. Actually, I pulled up Google Maps so we can go zoom in even closer because the radar site only lets us get so close. But so if we go to this area, this is the area that definitely got big hail. We can see we have a lot of neighborhoods. And a lot of these are nicer neighborhoods. There are some parts of Jackson that are a little bit older, and the construction is, maybe 50, 60, 70, 80 years old. These are definitely houses that have been built in the last 30 years for sure. And these are nice houses. So we can expect there to be quite a bit of volume coming from this. Let's see this. Yeah, a lot of neighborhoods out here by this lake, by this bay here of the Ross R. Barnett Reservoir. So the worst of the hail that's been reported was here in South Jackson, which again, this is going to be kind of like more of an industrial area and a lot of body shops, auto repair, stuff like that. And then there's some neighborhoods in here that are a little bit older. And then it kind of went up through here. It was moving kind of northeast and went through an area, kind of a dead area where there's not a lot. Looks like a river goes through there. Hit another little area with some warehouses, and then really got big in this little strip here, going up through here. That's where all the reports are. In fact, I'll read a few. Let's go back to the radar because that's a bit more appealing to look at. We'll go take that back down to 0.3. So everywhere along this highway got smashed with anywhere from golf ball to baseball size hail. We'll look at the report in just northeast of Flowood here. Got, come on. Sorry, I'm using my radar app on my phone and it's giving me trouble here. All right, there we go. Sorry. 2.5-inch hail just northeast of Flowood. That looks like it would be right about in this vicinity. So if we could step it back a little bit when the storm was right here. If we go out by the shore of that reservoir we were just looking at, we've got 1.75. We have a 1.75, so golf balls out there. We have just south of that 2.75, so there's your baseball. So definitely got some hail claims that are going to be coming in from this. And then, like I was talking about earlier, there's also the wind side of this. Now this storm, remember these were two different storms. This storm, as it was coming into Jackson, it actually weakened a little bit from, in terms of hail. You can see those, bright pinks and purples kind of start to go away into more reds. But there is still quite a bit of wind through here. So there's wind damage reports all over the west side of Jackson, and I can read a few here. Go ahead and look at one here just west of downtown Jackson. Tree fallen on house on Waynoka Drive. We have another one here. Tree on house on Wind Street. So there's going to be a lot of trees down. There's going to be a lot of hail damage. Mostly just west of downtown Jackson and just east of downtown Jackson here. Downtown Jackson still did get hail. It was probably more on the range of quarter size though, so not as dramatic, but still people are going to be wanting to file claims. They're going to be hearing about all this hail and stuff, and even if they got smaller hail, they're going to go, well, what if my roof is damaged? So likely going to be a boatload of claims coming from the Jackson, Mississippi area. Again, this is pretty populated, over 150,000 people in Jackson alone, plus this thing has been moving down the interstate. So all the way from like Edwards to now we can see the storm. If we progress to right now, the storm is near Forest. These areas are all going to be getting hail as well. Looks like the hail's not as big right now. It is warned for quarters right now, so nothing too crazy, but there's still wind with this. It says tree and power lines were reported down Highway 43 north of Pentalahatchee, something like that. So that's this back here, Pelahatchie. And then if we zoom out here, you can see it's not the only storm. There's a ton of other storms. That's just the biggest one that's in like a populated area right now. But we've seen reports of giant hail earlier this morning in Alabama and Georgia, along with some tornadoes. There was a tornado reported down here in Louisiana about an hour ago. So a lot going on here. Let's see if we can find any other storms that are nearing populated areas here. These are all relatively small towns, a few thousand people each. Montgomery might be under fire later today. Let's go back to Louisiana here. This Monroe storm might be coming close. Okay, so that's going just south of downtown Monroe. Monroe is pretty big. Let's see what this is warned for. This is only warned for quarters, so nothing too catastrophic there. It looks like it's going to go south of town anyways. But it is only 6 p.m. Central Time, so we still have a lot of time. We can go ahead and look at what these storms are supposed to do. If we go ahead, we will pull up Call of Duty page. We will go to the high resolution rapid refresh model, and you can see this is right now. Okay, so this is what it's interpreting the environment being right now, which is kind of like what we were seeing on the radar if we zoomed out. And all of these storms just have hail potential through the next about 4 to 5 hours, actually even after that. When they're more cellular like this, when there's more space in between them, that's usually more indicative of isolated supercells, and those are going to be more conducive for hail. As they start to congeal here, you'll still have potential for hail, but it's going to be more of a damaging wind threat by that point probably. So we are just going to have to watch these storms. It looks like you're going to have multiple rounds in some areas with multiple supercells going through. In fact, this one pegged that Jackson supercell pretty well. It shows it moving east and just kind of still trucking along the interstate there. And then eventually we'll go into Alabama here. So what else can we talk about here? We got that Jackson storm where there was massive hail on the west and east side of town with a bit of a little bit down step when it went to downtown Jackson, more in the range of quarters, but still going to be a lot of claims coming from here over the next day or so. And that's not even mentioning the long track tornado that was up here the other day that I was on. I was just outside Rolling Fork when it came through, and we can talk about that briefly here and let a few things happen. I'll go to my YouTube channel. So, I don't want to log out of the Adjuster TV YouTube channel, so I will just, no, not the other channel where I post music stuff. We want this. Sorry. Like I said, if you're just joining us, this is like totally last minute. I saw that this was happening and was like, oh man, we should probably go live here. So this was my view 2 nights ago. We were in Louisiana all day. A lot of storms struggled to get organized, and we were pretty much just holding on to hope for one storm. I say hope with quotations because obviously we don't ever want anything to happen like what happened to Rolling Fork. But, you know, our forecast said that this clump of storms that we were following would likely end up becoming tornadic. We just thought it was going to happen a bit earlier than it did. And the storm struggled for a long time in Louisiana, and we're just like, we're really confident in this environment. Why is it not popping off like we think it's supposed to? It just took a while. It took a while to get over some stable and dry air, but that moisture just kept pumping and surging in. And eventually we had a tornadic supercell that developed right along the Mississippi River, just northwest of Vicksburg. And it's very sparsely populated out there. There's not a lot. It's mostly small towns, farming communities, and then just vast open fields along the Mississippi Delta. And we found ourselves with the storm rapidly approaching from the Mississippi River. Here at the beginning of the video is when we first see the tornado. You can see kind of this cone shape off in the distance. This is when it's getting big as it's approaching Rolling Fork. It's just southwest of town here, and you can see a large, what we call a wedge tornado. And here, I mean, you can literally see the motion in the lightning flashes, just showing how violent this tornado is. You can see the shape moving and morphing every time that the lightning flashes, and just truly terrifying situation here. I'm getting blasted with probably 50 to 60 mile per hour inflow winds that are just feeding into this tornado, and it approaches town here. We can go scoot to the point where it crosses just to our north. We get back in the cars. Tornado crosses the road right in front of us there, probably about 3/4 of a mile, then moves off to the northeast where it is now impacting Rolling Fork. You can see the power flashes there. And then there's these strange, I mean, we think they're cars. I hate to say it, but there's a lot of speculation. I was very skeptical that these are cars floating around the vortex, but it's being looked into by people that are a lot smarter than I am, and they're a lot of them are concluding that it's cars. I'm still on the fence, but I don't know what else these lights can be. But they literally, you can see these lights rotating around the periphery of the tornado. There's one up here, and then there's another one there. It is not uncommon for cars to be hurled by tornadoes, but usually what happens is they'll get lofted up and they will get thrown and dropped. It's rare to see, I don't think I've ever seen video of one doing almost a full revolution around a tornado. And here you can see, if this were to be a car, the light starts all the way on this side of the vehicle, of the tornado, right there. And it's already at this point, so it's already been up in the air for a while. And the edge of the tornado you can kind of make out right here. The object floats around the entirety of the tornado on this side without losing any altitude, or at least much of any altitude, and then wraps back around the other side of the tornado, which is just crazy, kind of hard to fathom. So we're not sure exactly if they were cars, but we don't really know what else they could be. We saw that there were a lot of vehicles that were lofted. So right now the speculation is those are vehicles, which is really, really unfortunate, obviously, pretty sickening. And we then went into town after it passed, and we were the first ones there. There was nobody else there as far as like emergency management. There was no fire trucks, there was no ambulances. This is, like I said, a rural farming community, and there's just not much in the way of emergency management. You know, the police officer, I think there's 2 on-duty police officers in town. You know, dozens and dozens of homes destroyed, completely flattened. So a couple, actually more than a couple dozen really, storm chasers that were on this storm, those of us who were right there when it hit, and then those who were kind of falling behind and caught up with the storm when it, you know, they hit the down debris in Rolling Fork. We all kind of came together and had to go do search and rescue. So we were digging debris off and pulling people out of houses, and it was really just a horrible situation. I don't think I saw the first ambulance until we had been there for about 45 minutes. So it was very sobering, but I was lucky that a lot of the people that I personally helped get out were okay, minor cuts and bruises types thing. I had a group of friends that went into a neighborhood that came across multiple fatalities. So that you know, I'm lucky that the area that I was in, which is actually where a lot of the EF4 damage came from, the houses were completely gone, but pretty much all the people we helped pull out were somehow just in this little perfect portion of their house that collapsed down around them, where only like a limb was keeping them impinged, and then once we freed that, they were able to get up and walk out. So just crazy situation all around there. Still trying to wrap my head around everything that happened over those few hours, but we'll go ahead and look again here at kind of this dramatic part as it's approaching town. You can see right here what we refer to as a horizontal vortex, which is indicative of a really strong to violent tornado. You can see it right there, that kind of tube, that horizontal tube, that snake-like tube on the side of the tornado. That's indicative of a very strong to violent tornado, which obviously this was. It is I don't remember the death toll as of now, but it was rated EF4. So let's go ahead and click out of that. We'll go back to radar here. So there's this storm that's pretty much just trucking down Interstate 20 there. And then we have a tornado warning on the cell that is in southwest Alabama here, near Thomasville. Let's take a look at that. That's the most recent tornado warning. We haven't had a tornado warning since the cells that were coming out of Louisiana. And a bit of rotation there, kind of broad. See if this radar sees anything better. But for those of you just joining us, we are looking at potential for deployment in Jackson, Mississippi for a strong series of storms that went in. One came in from the west, and then one developed over the south side of town, kind of moved north and the northeast, producing up to baseball-sized hail on the east side of town, which is quite populated. That westernmost storm kind of peaked on the west side of town here, especially over Clinton, where it was dropping golf ball-sized hail and probably up to 80-mile-per-hour winds. Lots of reports of trees on houses, limbs down, lines down, that sort of thing. So expecting a large volume of claims from Jackson, Mississippi, whether it's full-scale deployment for your company, whatever companies you work with. Hard to say for sure. There will need to be external adjusters brought in. I'm almost certain of that. The exact scale I'm unsure of, but there's going to be a lot of damage from this, and this is a fairly populated area, over 150,000 people in this vicinity. So actually, if you count in some of the towns that it hit, probably out to the northeast and the west, probably closer to 200,000. So pretty populated area, just took a direct hit from multiple rounds of severe storms, and it's not over yet. We still have all these storms, and they are going to be continuing throughout the night. We are going to just kind of keep monitoring. If something else pops up later this evening and I'm paying attention, I might do another live stream. Right now, there's not a whole lot more to talk about, but I would definitely be calling your firms. We've had a lot of damage in the state from the storms just 2 days ago. Now this, there's going to be need for additional help. There's just no way around it. So we'll look at these last few storms here, and then we will call it, unless there are any questions in the chat. But let's go ahead and take a look at these storms here, this little cluster of storms. I'll see, while that's trying to load, I will see if there's any new reports coming in. Yeah, just a ton of hail reports on the northeast side of Jackson here. A ton of wind reports on the west. I guess we might be able to see these. These might be on the SPC already. Yeah. Yeah, so here you go. This kind of gives you a good idea. We have all these wind reports on the west side of town where we saw there was that strong velocity indicative of probably 70 to 80 mile per hour winds, potentially locally higher. We can see up here, that was a report of a tree down on the intersection of Kickapoo and Pine Haven. This one was tree on a house, I believe. Yep. And then this hail report here over Clinton, golf balls. That storm. This one says in downtown Jackson, let's see, that's the wind report. This one says 2-inch hail in downtown Jackson, so maybe that storm did hit downtown that second one rather. Keep doing that. I'm not going to go back to it. You can go back in the stream. We were talking about how there was a storm that came in from the west and moved east over Jackson, and then a separate storm that developed south of Jackson and then kind of moved north and northeast, which produced all these hail reports. It looks like it might have started producing that big hail over South Jackson Metro. If that was the case, that would add a whole nother section of buildings that were damaged. But it looks like this area of Jackson, if you can see where I'm circling, got more in the range of like quarter-size hail. But there's going to be sporadic large hail in this whole entire area. And you can see here, if that's the case, very populated area around the downtown Jackson area. And then we also have another pretty populated area with a bunch of neighborhoods, higher class, higher scale neighborhoods. The houses there are newer and larger, so this area got completely demolished by baseballs, tennis ball to baseball size hail. Pretty much every one of these homes here is going to have damage, and we can go back and look at this neighborhood here. So over here, these houses a little bit smaller here in this particular neighborhood, and this one, a lot of larger homes. Kind of just giving you a feel for what these neighborhoods look like. And we go over towards the actual lake itself. So it looks like this neighborhood is a little bit higher scale neighborhood right through here. That's going to be one of the areas that got hit very bad with baseball size hail. And we can see there's kind of like shopping areas along the highway here. Another neighborhood here. Another neighborhood over here. So lots of claims going to be coming in from this particular area, and this particular area in terms of large hail. And then this area, all on west side of Jackson, definitely going to have a lot of reports coming in for wind damage, or a lot of claims coming in for wind damage rather. So that's about all there is to talk about. I am going to sign out for now. Definitely be calling your firms, letting them know that you are available and ready to deploy, because we definitely have work out there now, and it is only late March. We still have a lot of season left. In fact, let's talk briefly before I go about Thursday and Friday. We have another large storm system that's going to be moving into a bit of an area that you would expect for this time of year. We're going to have our first big severe weather event of April. Will that be April? No, it will still be late March. Never mind. But potential for one of these days to have some significant severe weather. I have not personally looked at these on like the computer model, so I don't really know exactly what is going on from like a synoptic or thermodynamic perspective. I just know there's a trough moving in. So one of these days will likely end up being Thursday or Friday, will likely end up being a significant severe weather day. So, and then I saw some of my friends posting in our group chat after that, the following week, which would be early April, another storm system. So it looks like, I guess we should just look. We should just look. What am I doing here saying all this stuff that I heard third party information, secondhand stories, when we have the raw data right here? We can look at it first person. So this is a system that's ongoing right now. All this flow is what's contributing to the severe storms in the southeast. That kind of moves out of the way, and then we have Thursday, Friday's system move in. This is the jet stream we're looking at here, and these are waves of energy. So that one moves in Thursday, Friday, going to have potential for severe weather. And then this other, that's a really good looking trough. Oh my God. If that continues, that's going to be another severe weather outbreak potential. That's a really classic looking trough. That's like a tornado outbreak looking trough. But we're still very far out from that. We're still over a week out from that. So we don't want to be talking about any anything definitive with that, but it looks interesting. I mean, there's no way around it. It's going to be a consistently active pattern. Then after that, we have a break for a few days, And then here we go, another system. We'll see, is there moisture for that one? Yes, there is. A lot of moisture. So what I'm getting at here is we are going to have pretty consistent chances for severe weather over the next 2 weeks. It's going to be a very active 2 weeks, it looks like, as we get into early to mid-April. So not only do we have everything that we discussed from Jackson, Mississippi earlier today, but we also have the potential for other areas in the Central Plains to get hit with severe weather over the following 2 weeks. So if you have not trained and you are on the fence about this career, you better start getting started if you're looking to get into the catastrophic side of it, because there is little to no time left, right? We have storms that have happened 2 days ago, major tornado outbreak, a ton of wind reports. We have this stuff going on today, hail and wind. We have potential tornado outbreaks coming out. I mean, it's just, there's a lot going on right now. So regardless, we are going to call it. Thank you all so much for watching. No real questions in the chat. I live in Phoenix City, Alabama right now, on the border of Alabama and Georgia. It's getting dark here the past 30 minutes. Where is that at? As long as you're not near Thomasville, you're probably doing all right. Thomasville, Fulton, tornado warning storm heading towards Camden. If you're in this general swath, you're going to want to be paying attention because these storms are just going to move to the east. So there's going to be more potential for damage. But anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Check back here for any additional updates and stay safe out there. And as Matt always says, have a great storm.